actively rejected it. We can use feminism as an entry point to understand better how campaigns over women's rights, new womanhood, the awakening of women, or women's liberation might have shared concerns and tactics. But I will also be telling the story of the limits of feminism, its blind spots and silencings, its specificities and complicities. Even the idea of women, or as 19th century commentators often preferred, woman, has proved controversial. And gender, understood as the cultural and social organization of biological sex, has only become a commonly used term in the late 20th century. This book traces out how feminists and activist women related to nationalism, religious doctrines, imperialism, utopianism, and racial thinking. My aim is to offer feminist inspiration, showing how unexpected linkages and resonances emerge across different feminist generations and epochs. Inspiration must be set alongside a different story of conflicts and tensions. Feminist coalitions have long had their limits, and feminist concerns of the past don't always mesh easily with urgent contemporary efforts to make visible and stamp out the injuries of gender. Feminism seeks an alliance that spans more than half of humanity. There may have never been such an ambitious movement in human history. But what do feminists want? All share the insight that being a woman means disadvantage vis-à-vis men, and that this can be addressed through struggle. But the resulting political claims have varied dramatically over time and proceeded under many different names. Feminism is best understood as an overlapping, internally complex set of actions, questions, and demands that has been in formulation since the 18th century or even earlier. Its concerns change over time. A century ago, British socialist feminist Ethel Snowdon described feminism as a project seeking the purity of men and women through harnessing those instinctive feminine forces which make for the protection of the race. 21st century feminists are unlikely to identify with this rhetoric, and Snowdon's race politics would have been contested by the anonymous Gold Coast letter writer. There is nonetheless remarkable freshness and relevance to the feminist debates of the past when viewed through the lens of contemporary feminist concerns. Snowdon's insistence, for example, that women have an equal right to fight in the military resonates with today's hard-fought campaigns to gain equality in battlefield operations. Feminists have been motivated by the terrible realities of women's lack of control over their bodies, the rapes, sexual abuses, unwilling pregnancies, and the relentless pressures of the male gaze. They have drawn attention to women's poverty, their exclusion from safer and better paid jobs, their vulnerabilities through marriage or motherhood, their illiteracy. They have shown the cost of women's lack of legal rights, that they have taken the form of loss of custody of their children, forced labour, lack of medical resources and land rights, and women's vulnerability in conditions of occupation, war and famine. The costs and human misery of gender inequalities have been and remain incalculable. Yet feminist activism has also been creative and empowering, creating coalitions and inspiring commitment to change. Ideas and dreams have taken shape as campaigns and protests. Individuals have found hope, resilience, and justice. Feminism has been repeatedly written off as a political movement that has achieved its aims, only to come back with renewed force as another generation of women angrily name their malaise. Today's campaigners have deep interest in what some ambivalently term the F word, but many are uncertain as to how their activism relates to feminist history. Some embrace foremothers, such as Concepcion Arenal, Mary Wollstonecraft.